Let us move to the next speaker of the day, Mr. Sanjeev Navangal.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Let me share some words. He doesn't need introduction, but I'll take this opportunity to do that. He's Managing Director and CEO of Bharat Serums and Vaccines. Mr. Navangal has led a host of global pharmaceutical companies to operational success. His mentorship and contribution towards a value-based culture is widely acknowledged by business leaders. Mr. Navangal has served on the board of Johnson & Johnson Private Limited India and Fulford India. He has held several leadership roles through his 30-year career, such as Managing Director for Janssen, the division of J&J in India and South Asia, Managing Director for MSD Pharmaceuticals Philippines, Commercial Director for MSD India and South Asia, and he is a recipient of several industry awards on public health, marketing, and diversity. Mr. Navangal has also served as Vice President of OPPI from 2014 to 19, Chairman of AMChem Pharma Committee, American Chamber of Commerce, and Chairman Medical and Regulatory Committee. One thing I must mention is he has successfully worked with 57 nationalities and have lived across 6 nations in 3 continents. That is what I look forward to in your speech, Sanjeev sir, the experience that you bring in, the knowledge that you will bring in from this vast experience. Over to you, Sanjeev sir.
So first of all, good afternoon to everyone. And it's my pleasure to be here and talking to all of you. I see some of my ex-colleagues here, a lot of people I know. Also, I see a lot of students and a bunch of professionals here. So I had the choice, when this discussion happened with Vivek and Swati, I had the choice of going whole hog into definition of patient centricity, going into taking it at a very, very high level and making it a statement of purpose and really getting in on the length where people take it inside themselves in a different way. But fortunately for me, I think Jill did the job and she explained the reason for purpose. She explained why things are, what in a way they function and what we should look for in companies and products and people. So I think the job was done. So I'm happy I chose something else to do. I think with a lot of years of experience, one learns through a lot of events that happen with you in the industry and in the environment in healthcare that we live in. So I'm going to focus myself with 2 examples of what I went through and where did I learn my patient centricity model on and understood the value of why we should transform ourselves into thinking differently from a patient focused point of view and not specifically from the point of view of what we are selling as products. Our industry is trapped most of the times in trying to think through products. And therefore, we think of prescriptions, we think of doctors, and we don't think of what the product does to patients. And that's a trap that we continuously are in. If we think our monthly target is number of tablets sold or value of business done, then obviously we think of the first person who tries to create that. But if you think of why the medicines are made in their first place at all, and then we start thinking about it, we start thinking differently. Swati, you can put up the first slide. And it so happens that Jill showed you the same slide. It is fascinating to see that she thought the same way as I thought about certain things. Look, I think this you read when Jill presented it, but imagine somebody saying this and you trying to imbibe it and understand it and say that, okay, does this mean that I have to ensure that medicines reach people? And if I can reach medicines to people, everything else will happen. And this is a very, very classic way of thinking. And I'll take you through a couple of examples. And I wanted to go a little bit deeper into those examples only for the reason that it will help everybody come through the experience pattern rather than a philosophical pattern. So, Swati, we can move to the next one. Yeah. So, imagine we are in 2010, 11, and 12. Take ourselves 10 years behind. And the oral regimen of hepatitis C that kicked in 2014, 15, actually, 2015, had not kicked in. Hepatitis C was a disease which is slow and kills you slowly. So you live for years, but it ultimately kills you. And the treatments in those times were the interferons, which were expensive, which in an Indian context roughly costed about $800 in those times of conversion. So maybe, about 40,000, 50,000 rupees a month or for the course, sorry, not for the fund. It took about 6 months course. Obviously, there was and there was what we saw at that time when we were looking at this disease and trying to solve the problem in India. We saw that affordability was a major, major issue. And the simplest thing that one thinks of in India is affordability is price. And therefore, reduce the price and increase the affordability. But this is probably the more simplistic way of looking at, probably the most foolish way of looking, according to me, of trying to create affordability by just reducing price. Affordability is also about access. And therefore, you need to start thinking about access. What we saw in India was that at the rate at which these products were available, less than 1% of people could have had treatment based on income distribution, and the other population would not have had. And now it was not a small disease. 1% of the country's population was affected by hepatitis C. So it is a large population and a disease which had cure. So you had a situation where the cure rate, even with interferons, was close to 60, 70, 75% at times, or 80% sometimes. While now the new drugs have made it about 95%. So clearly it was in a position to be solved. But if you see that if the cost of treatment was low, uh, the treatments were better. For example, diabetes today has roughly a treatment rate around 35 to 40%, or asthma has a treatment rate around 20, 25%. While hepatitis C treatment rates in those times was just 1%. So you clearly see that a simple way of looking at affordability meant that the treatment rates went down. So now we were posed with this question: how do we solve this problem of trying to find a solution to a disease which is curable to a great extent, but whose pricing or whose affordability criteria determines that only a few amount of patients can take the drug. So let's go to the next slide. And also, the other question that we had to answer was incidence and prevalence. The funny thing is, India is not a small country. So whenever you think of any disease, we just make those big statements that, in India, we have a prevalence of 6 to 8% of people about 20 have diabetes or something else or something else. We just throw percentages at people and talk about them in numbers. But you need to go deeper in India. You need to understand geographies. You need to understand smaller geographies. You need to understand the country and the disease pattern, the reasons behind that. As I think Jill was mentioning about Simon Sinek and the question of why does this happen? And as we went deeper in India, we found that there are two clear clusters in hepatitis C, where north of India, the northwest of India, especially Punjab and that area, Haryana and Himachal, and the northeast, were the two places where the prevalence was between 3 to 5%, and not exactly the percentages that we saw in the rest of the country. Now, there were several reasons for it. Use of, sharing of needles, drug abuse, painkillers, several reasons why this is to happen. But this is to happen higher in these areas compared to the other areas of the country. So now you have a different problem. You have a problem where you have an affordability barrier, and you have also a problem of concentrated areas where the disease spread is higher. Now, there was a choice to make: how do we run a pilot to understand how it can work in the country or work all over the world? So we said, okay, let's go to Punjab, basically because you have a little better medical infrastructure. little better income distribution. So maybe Punjab might be a good place to start an experiment. And already the government of Punjab was little more seized of hepatitis C as a disease and used to have annual purchases of hepatitis C medicines for the population, though albeit in a very small way. So now, okay, we decided, okay, we'll go to Punjab. Swati, we can go to the next one. Yeah, and then we tried to look at the same data in Punjab. Now, prevalence was about 2 million patients in Punjab. And you can imagine 2,000 could afford and 750 were taking treatment. And two companies operating, so whatever the share of market. This was the situation in that state. Most of the patients that were affected were basically farmers. So now their income distribution is very different and income flow is very different. So if you imagine a farmer, he or she earns money in lumps. Every 4 months or 6 months, they earn big amount of money, and then there is a lag for them to earn money. Also, their regular income is through very simple means, like their whatever their milk distribution or some other food distribution. So they don't have a very significant way of saying steady income. They have a lump income. Plus, if you take a city like Ludhiana and you found out the income distribution, Ludhiana is a little richer place, and therefore we take the example of Ludhiana. See, you have to realize that in India, when Mercedes-Benz started, besides the major metros, the first two showrooms that started in India were in Ludhiana and in Kolhapur. So you can imagine the income distribution was a little better. But even there, you saw that only 0.1% of the population could have afforded, could afford the medicines. But if you go down a little in income distribution from more than, let's say, $2,500 a month to about, let's say, $500 to $800 a month, you immediately looked at increasing the population that can afford the drug by 20 to 40 times. Now, that's a significant story. But now the other issue was that this income distribution was an issue because it was also lumpy in nature. So then you had to find a solution which was very, very different to increase treatment rates in a state which was ravaged by working farmers being affected by a disease which could kill them. So if you now start thinking about solving this problem, you have to start thinking that whether you want to solve the cash problem or the cash flow problem. And these were different times altogether. So we started looking at this from a cash flow point of view rather than a cash point of view. And what if patients paid over a longer duration of time instead of the shorter duration of 6 months, and therefore made it more affordable to them from a monthly outgo point of view? But then the question was, who will take care of those times of 2 years? And then you had to think through a solution. We also found that farmers were not very punctual in their treatment. They didn't realize the understanding of taking treatment in time or taking treatment on a regular interval basis. So that was another problem to solve. So now you have patient attitudes, you have cash flow, and you have a problem of funding that cash flow. So with all this, we came together with a solution. Go to the next one, Swati. We came to a situation where we realized that 5 completely different organizations need to come together to solve this problem. Obviously, you needed clinics to participate. You needed a drug supplier, which we were. You needed a financing company to understand and solve the problem of cash versus cash flow. You needed a disease management company which could control the whole loop, and you needed a distributor who could ensure that the drug availability is there. Now, how to do this? So first of all, we found a like-minded group of, Swati, we can keep on the previous slide on. Yeah. So we found a group of like-minded doctors in the place in Ludhiana district to start with, and then in Punjab, who said, okay, fine, let's together solve the problem. And then they were incorporated in the program saying that, okay, let's work on this. We named it, I think, if I remember right, we named it Sambhav. We also looked at a financing company which was Temasek's loan micro lending arm in India. Temasek is the big Singapore financier. So now, what did they do? We were not experts at understanding a farmer income, but Temasek's company in India used to do micro lending in India. And the way they used to do micro lending, they used to understand incomes very well. Now they would understand if a farmer comes and says, "Look, I have 3 acres of land, I have three buffaloes, two cows, and I also grow some vegetables." For us, it meant nothing. We couldn't understand a damn thing. But the financing company could understand, okay, this means that this person will have a monthly income of so much, will have a half yearly income of so much, a quarterly income of so much, and would get this money at different intervals. So now, what was his credit worthiness? How can they pay their money back, his or her money back? And that was something that they understood fully well. And look, and Punjab is a very classic state where the higher the income distribution, the higher the default rate in loans. So, a person who buys a car defaults at 15% in Punjab, while a person who buys small amounts to buy a motorcycle to ensure his daily needs, his default rate is 4%. So it is a very interesting state, and it's not very different from other states, but this is very, very stark in Punjab. So now that understanding had to be there. So that only a financing company could have. A disease management company to support us was required because we had to connect the patient, the caregiver, the distributor, the coupons that we could issue for the drugs, the financing company ensure that a nurse reaches the patient's home on due date to give the injection, monitors the patient because there could be some hepatic disorders that you could see. So all those things that had to be managed, and therefore you needed counselors of that level and nursing care at a very high level. So you needed a disease management company. And obviously, the whole route of ensuring that the drug supply is done was to be done through a distributor. Now, this whole operation was conducted in a very, very high quality process mapping. What it did was there were no defaults, both on payments as well as on treatment. Doctors took adequate care, and you would find farmers wanting to participate in it. And we had very, very emotional cases where a family was distressed because the father had hepatitis C and therefore couldn't do much in the farm. The son was sent to the farm to start doing work. The son was very young, about 24, again had hepatitis C. We don't know where the exposure came from. Imagine in the family, just father and son and three sisters of that son and his wife. And so they were the only people who could go to the farm and work, and they were in distress. And then, when we approached them, the father took the treatment in year one, the son took the treatment in year two, both of them recovered. So there are socioeconomic issues that get solved with some of these solutions. The social thinking around this was so high that you started getting a lot more people getting involved in talking about it. The NGO started talking about it. Imagine every Sunday in Gurudwara, the pramukh of the Gurudwara is to talk about this program and say ki is bimari se aap bach sakte ho. And so you found allies in an unexpected quarter to talk about what this solution brings to. And imagine that the patient had to pay for 6 months of the payment over 2 years. So therefore the monthly outgo became much lesser. And if you're going down the income pyramid because you have now a monthly outgo which is divided over 24 months instead of 6 months. So you are increasing possibility of paying 4 times. And you didn't have to reduce the drug price for that purpose. But the drug price ensured that you could make this into a probable solution. What did we have to pay to the financing company? A default rate of 4% and bear the burden of interest for the patient. That we bore so that the patient only pays the capital. The impact was that the treatment rates in that state for hepatitis C in those years from 12 to 13, 2012 to 2013 went up 8 times. So imagine a CAGR of business that used to be around 10 to 14%, And then you go and tell the management, look, I have increased sales by 8 times in 1 year by solving a patient problem the right way and ensuring patient has access. This, dear friends, is taking interest in patient centricity. This is what is classically needed to understand how to solve patient problems and not think about, how can I competitively price my product in the market and how can I tell the doctor write my product and these are the product attributes and benefits. This is not marketing at all. And this is where most of us in India have continuously gone wrong. Swati, can you go to the next slide? And we found very many solutions. The financing company partner capability and mindset was something which was extremely important. We got great commitment from the partner. We understood income distribution of patients in a much more wider way and therefore could implement this in many other areas. We found that how to ensure alternate treatments which are sometimes harmful to patients. How do you weed patient away from those? But also ensure that if patients are doing something which is harmless, don't oppose it. For example, as I always say, I think many patients were having turmeric water, hot water and with turmeric. It's okay, you leave them alone. You don't counter such things. But if they are going to a Baba and who is going them some jadi booty, then we used to ensure that they get educated on those things, that they don't fall prey for those things. We saw patient flows very differently. Who is the influencer in the family? What kind of decisions are taken in the income pyramid and the family decision making tree? We found how there were differences in gender of decision making and therefore helped us in understanding many other diseases. And ultimately, government involvement. I think both the Punjab government and Haryana government ultimately adopted hepatitis C as a disease to be solved and tackled. And that was probably the biggest benefit of it. By 2014 and 15, Punjab government and Haryana government both made it a point to ensure that hepatitis C eradication became one of their major things. So I have given you one example of how thinking about one disease which had a finite treatment and curability which was higher, one could think about patient centricity differently and solve the real problem and not solve the unreal problems of trying to say what can work with the doctor. So this, imagine the prestige you earned with the medical fraternity, with the government. And I jokingly was telling Vivek yesterday that I am still friends with the current finance secretary, Mr. Tiwari of Punjab government, chief secretary of the current government, the ex-chief secretary, Karan Singh. These are all still friends of mine. When I go to Chandigarh, I meet them because they knew that we meant that this is serious and this was important for patient solutions. So let me stop here and go to another example. And this time I take an example which must be so commonly heard that all of you understand this very well. So I'm going to talk to you about diabetes. And I think Bhavesh is here, so he can also talk a lot about the same thing. He was deeply involved. Deepak is here. Deepak Mukherjee, I can see, I think he was deeply involved. So there are people who are deeply involved in this story. So I have friends here who might be able to tell you better than me. But let me explain to you in diabetes what we tried to do. And this was 2009 and 10 when we started this program. Yeah. So now you can imagine how far ago we thought about it and what happened. We all know this, yeah, that India is kind of a disastrous, very disastrous situation in terms of diabetes. I think we just exploded with diabetes. And if I tell you something interesting here as a statistic that might hit you harder, is that India's GDP gets affected by 1 percentage point, because of diabetes and hypertension. And then you calculate 1% of India's GDP, and then you understand the impact these diseases have. If we manage them well, what kind of positive impact on GDP we can have in the country. We can go to the next slide, sorry. And, this is known to everyone again. I don't think there is anybody in this audience who doesn't know this, that you reduce a HbA1c of a person by 1%, and you reduce complication of death by 21%, in myocardial infarction by 14%, microvascular complication by 37%, and amputation and death from peripheral vascular disease by 43%. Can you imagine the reduction of risk you can have by just reducing HbA1c by 1%? But in India, treatment is still, even after so many years, sporadic, acute, and episodic. So every patient of diabetes goes back to the doctor on an average every 14 months. 14 months, not, and normally a patient of diabetes needs to go back to the doctor every 90 days or 3 months. Now, 3 to 14 months, that's the gap we have. So how do we solve this problem? How do we ensure patients get to their goal? Doctors, you can visit a endocrinologist or diabetologist clinic and find out how much time do they have. Very, very limited. They meet 90 patients in 3 hours of their clinic time. So you just can't spare time for the patients. Okay, so then what do we do? Go to the next slide, Swati. So, and then let me explain to you what do you see. Diabetes issue in India or everywhere in the world is like this iceberg, where you see 1/10 of it is what you see and the rest 9/10 of it you don't see. So, Swati, if you click, this is what you see. I think you see a lot many diabetics and you see many brands and 80,000 doctors prescribe. And, this is some old data since this was 2009. But imagine this is now a 2,400 crore market. It still grows. But now if you see what is the real problem, you have 2/3 patients which are uncontrolled. You have average HbA1c, which is 8.25%. 13 years later, the same statistics are there. Gap, I mentioned to you about 14 months. Diabetes management, non-existent. 90% patients suffer from anxiety, depression, and indifference. Counseling, non-existent. Less than 4% patients on goal. And diet and exercise told as important to less than 5% patients. So whenever a drug of diabetes get approved, it says always that in conjunction with diet and exercise, please take this medication. So if that is being written in every approval of a drug, why less than 5% patients are being told about it? This is a problem which has not changed. Maybe you would have percentage change of maybe 1 or 2% nothing more than that. And physicians who keep a higher target of 8 because of fear of hypoglycemia, 100%. All physicians believe this. And I think Deepak has gone through this for 30 years. So 30, 40 years, he has seen this. So what do we do? Go to the next one, Swati. So the real challenges of patients is patient motivation, complex and multidimensional disease, monitoring is non-existent, treatment is episodic, and each patient is unique. And the first thing that pharma industry says, all this is nice, but I don't know how to reach the patient. I only talk to the doctor and doctor talks to the patient. That is the simple, most uneducated excuse every person in the industry gives. But then, that's because we want to create reasons, excuses, and issues to not think about how to solve the problem. So let's go to the next slide. I think there's a slide in between, Swati. Oh no, okay, doesn't matter. Let me go back to the slide. So what we did was we created a program, and I think it is a program which is now closed down, so we can speak the name now. We developed a program called Sparsh, which actually took care of all these issues together. And the program operation was very, very simple. The program operation was so simple that, okay, you had you had this free program with a counseling center, which had some 50, 70 people, all MSc in nutrition, run by a PhD in nutrition, with 1,500 diet charts and 8 languages, and doctor connected and a diagnostic company connected. So patients could just dial a number and get free consultation. And this was also done methodically by having attitudinal segmentation for patients into 4 types, so that it is customized to patients. And the program was completely run free. So now, and it was completely kept away from the company. The data was, de-identified data only the company could access, so that there is no patient privacy that could get involved. And in the span of about 3 years, we had about 100,000 patients on this program. It was superb results that we saw with patients. And you had emotional patients. We had patients coming down from Calcutta, from Chandigarh, from Dehradun, from all kinds of geographies, used to visit the center in Hyderabad, travel and visit to thank those counselors because they took care of everything. So what was the result of it? If you go to the next slide, Swati. Yeah. So what did patients get out of it? They got really customized counseling due to attitudinal segmentation. They were in regular contact with everyone, and it reduced patient anxiety. The doctors could track their patient on a longitudinal basis, and therefore the patient visits increased substantially. So, in one sense, the patient control got better. In the other sense, doctors' business also improved. But the important point was that patients were better controlled, and decisions for treatment become more data based. You saw, we did a study to find out between control groups and the patient on the program, and in every possible parameter, HbA1c, blood pressure, cholesterol, body weight, in every possible parameter, the patients on the program did better. Better adherence to therapy. See, adherence to therapy in India or even in the US is about 220 days of adherence to therapy for diabetes out of 365 days. But better adherence to therapy means better business returns. And some of this kind of program got implemented by the organization at Merck in 50 subsidiaries in next 3 years. So you see the impact that it generates. Such kind of things generate. You see that you can deliver a lot to the patient. Nobody talked about price of the product. Today, that product is worth 100. I think it's about 1,000 crore product now in the market. So you imagine what happens. So you have created wealth out of patient benefit. You have not created wealth out of trying to do transactional selling, as was Vivek was trying to say. And everybody became proud of the journey that they attended. So, next slide, Swati. So, what have I told you? I think let me stop here by telling you something which is that start by thinking patient outcome first. Do not start by thinking what is my market. This is the IMS data, this is the CMARC data, this is the prescription data, P by D, prescriptions by doctor. It is patients by disease. So please be very careful of thinking of what it is. Patient-focused programs will always give you disproportionate business. Also, stop this term of using this term called go-to-market, which is meaningless and has no value. Start talking the term go-to-patients. You will yourself start thinking a little better. And I always think that if you start thinking patients, you will start thinking of real benefits and not unreal benefits. Let me end by saying something that Dr. Atul Gawande, who's probably the foremost medical thinker the world is seeing today, said once when he wrote his first book. He said, better is possible. It does not take genius. It takes diligence. It takes moral clarity. It takes ingenuity. And above all, it takes willingness to try. So I don't want anybody here to say, yeah, but the market is like this, doctors are like this, patients are like this, companies like this, my manager is like this. Don't tell me all those excuses. It's about your willingness to try that will make the difference. So let me stop here and take questions if there are.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev sir. Wonderful, wonderful presentation. Sir has told us all about Sparsh and the hepatitis C program. And what a message that you gave. Try, willingness to try, no excuses. So we are expecting questions where there are no excuses written. Please write your... Okay, we have comments from Mr. Satadal Bhattacharya. One of the structured programs to manage diabetes by educating patients, Januvia team gained huge trust. So,
you can raise your hand.
How did you manage to get 5 companies together? A question has come up, Sanjeev sir.
Yeah, I think it's a little easy to answer because Jill talked about purpose. I think if you have the right purpose, then then companies come together. You have to explain the purpose very well. And see, it is about feel good also. All companies who came together at that time felt so good that they were doing something good for the patients and doing something for the welfare of society, that they were more than willing to participate in it. I remember, the financing company reducing rates by nearly 40% for the company, because they said, okay, it's a mankind work and we need to do it. So everybody gained in the process and everybody grew in the process also. So it was not really difficult.
Okay, we have some distributor, I think in the session, the person has put up, how can the distributor in the chain help develop a patient-centric approach?
Oh, I think this is very interesting. So some distributors approached us and said, look, why you want to hospitalize patients for doing this? On some other medication we had on rheumatoid arthritis. And they said, okay, if you're doing this, can we not open a day clinic? And we will provide the facility with nurse and doctor. And I think, can we create a day clinic and therefore do the infusion here instead of them going to get admit in the hospital? So some distributors looked at this program and did something for us in rheumatoid arthritis. So imagine they going that value, changing the value chain of their own business. So this was fantastic for us.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you, Sanjeev sir. Did you face any resistance? Just let me take the question. Did you face any resistance from the management doing while bringing 5 companies together? If yes, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, it's a hair-raising experience. See, I was personally presenting to the global chairman of the company, Ken Frazier, and the pharma head, Adam Schechter, at that time in headquarters at Merck. I presented the program before we started this off as pilot. And we had a situation where the chairman of the company had tears in his eyes, got up, clapped, and said, look, if we start thinking like this, we will make ourselves better human beings and a better company. And Adam Schechter, who was the pharma head, said that, you don't have to worry whether you make money or not in this program. Can you please implement it and come back to me and say how it works for patients? Don't bother about anything else. We will not ask India the question whether you make money on whether this resulted in any business results for us. So you see the support that you get if you genuinely feel for the patients.
Wow. Thank you, Sanjeev sir. And we will take up other questions at the end or maybe in the question answer WhatsApp group. Let us thank you, Sanjeev sir, for this wonderful insight into
Dr. Swati, can we have one interaction with one hand raised?
Okay.
One question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
He's raised his hand, but his audio is not connected. Mr. Muhammad Mudassir, do you want to ask? Okay, Alan sir, please ask.
Sanjeev sir, it was a lovely presentation from your side, and hats off to you. My question is about the non-lifestyle diseases. I've just put it in the chat box. For diabetes, hypertension, yes, you can go to the patient, you can organize yourself very well around it. But what about the other bigger chunk, the larger chunk of patients who are just come as OPD cases and things like that? Can you throw some light on that, sir?
Yeah, I think patients, when they come in OPD, see, the biggest problem of patients is distress and anxiety.
Right.
And, what companies can do is actually find their ways and means to help the patient through that distress and anxiety. See, for example, if a patient enters a hospital, he or she doesn't even know where to go, how to manage or navigate themselves.
True.
Can people help and find a way to solve that? There is the other issue of, look at oncology patients. The family anxiety and the family pressures are very different.
Right.
How to help them through a decision-making tree. So there are ways and means that you can, in every possible area, you can think of a solution which can reduce the issue for the patient. But we normally are very focused on what my product does, and therefore don't try and think about what it does to the patient. So if we start thinking that way, we might be able to find solutions.
No, my point here, sir, is that in diabetes, hypertension, segments like that, you can get a direct connect with the patient.
Yeah.
But in other segments, there's almost no chance.
No. See, look, I gave you an example of hepatitis C. I have done it in rheumatoid arthritis. I'm doing it in cases of Rh negative women currently. You're doing it in infertility couples. So you can go across. I have done it in so many areas that it is possible everywhere.
Right.
Yes. And Alan sir, in the next session also with Ashok sir, he is taking up this particular question that is you are asking. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Alan sir, for asking. Thank you, Sanjeev sir, for being so patient and presenting to us a wonderful, wonderful idea, how you did it and how you plan to do it.
Thank you. I think I have more colleagues here. I think Pankaj is also here. So I must thank all those colleagues who did all this. I'm just speaking for them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Sir.
you.